Good evening. What's up? This is JT. You're watching the Chronicles. It is all about positivity. But you know what? Tonight is something special. And I am blessed above and beyond to be part of the Children's Cove campaign. It's up to you. Now, Children's Cove is an incredible organization, and they've asked me to help host and monitor this incredible event with some other great people on the panel. Now, JT's Chronicles is all about positivity, and I try to spread that positive message daily through my videos and introducing people and just having a good time and making the community better. Now, It's Up to You campaign is all about giving you awareness about kids and safety, because over the last year, like we've all been involved in being home and being on social media, more and more kids are on social media and the parents on social media. And sometimes we all get lost and you're doing your thing and the kids are doing their thing. And there's other people out there that aren't as kind as we like them to be. And we need to teach our kids to be safe and let you know what's going on out there so we can protect our kids, our little kids and our big kids, because you never know what's going on when everybody's else enjoying their own world. And I'm incredibly grateful that I get to be part of this. And it's also for you to pass on. Grandparents, whether you have kids, you don't have kids, it's all about working together and making the community better and making the community safer. So I'm loving this night. And we've had some people already pre-register, so we have some great questions that are all set up. And we're going to be interviewing different people, and you're going to learn what they do and how to make things better and safer for you. Now, with that being said, I'm home, like my little studio, got my disco ball for our Friday night dance parties with Angel, and little one love, one family, one community, my little makeshift office. And I am going to introduce my friend Jacob Stapleton, and he's from the Children's Cove. So Jacob, what's going on, man?
Hey, JT, how are you doing tonight?
I'm good, man. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So happy that we're here. Happy to be doing this with you. Been something we've been talking about together, you and I, for a long time, and how to get out there and talk together, get connected to the community, and really talk about some of these important issues.
Exactly.
So for everyone out there watching, my name is Jacob Stapleton. I'm the Community Engagement and Education Coordinator at Children's Cove. We are the Child Advocacy Center for Cape Cod and the Islands. What we do is we work collaboratively with the community, with our partners in law enforcement, the District Attorney's Office, the Department of Children and Families, Cape Cod Healthcare, a lot of organizations that are really there for the safety and protection of the community. And we do some really difficult work. We work specifically with children under the age of 18 who have been victims of crime. Predominantly, really difficult stuff: sexual abuse, sexual assault, domestic violence, human trafficking, online exploitation. So really difficult things that are out there. And over the last year, we've seen some really disturbing trends. As JT had mentioned, within this past year, since the onset of COVID-19, everybody has been pushed more and more online. We had been talking for so long about how our world was becoming increasingly more online. But then we just saw this dramatic shift where everything was online: school and teachers and daycare and preschool and work and everything like that. But there was something else that was pushed online as well. And it's those people who are out there, unfortunately, who do harm to kids. In 2020, 75% of the cases that we saw that involve crimes against children that are categorized as human trafficking, child exploitation, 75% of those cases had some type of involvement with the internet, whether that was chat rooms, social media, instant messaging. It was where individuals online were specifically reaching out and targeting children. So far into 2021, we're also seeing that increased trend as well. About 60% of those cases are involving social media, online content, something that's there. And so we really, looked at this and said, we have to do something about this. Mm-hmm. But we wanted to make sure that we weren't creating a situation that was so scary that people didn't know what to do with it, right? Because as we talked about, there's so many things that you could do that safety, but you feel overwhelmed. How do I even tackle this? Like, you hear words like online exploitation and traffic. What do you even do? So that's where we started the It's Up to You, IU2U campaign. We're kicking this event off tonight because we want to reach out to parents. We want to talk to the community. We want to say, because guess what? This is a community issue. This issue starts at home. This starts with talking about it. It starts about getting it out there, making this message obtainable for people and not super scary. And so that's why we're here today to talk about that.
That's incredible. And I'm glad that you got this going, and everybody else that's involved, and that we met, because I don't believe in any mistake and no mistakes. So you and I collaborated, we wanted to do something, and it took something negative for us to bring something positive out. And this is what we're going to do. And I got the chance when I have a boy and a girl. So when they're older now, but when they were in 6th grade, and so the younger now, my house was the house, and I had the kids at the house. I had anywhere between 8 to like 13 kids at the house at a time, every nationality, boy and girl, all that. And I told them 6th grade, by 8th grade, you're going to start to go like this. It just happens. No way, JT, my best friend, if I ride or die, no way. And I'm like, no, I'm just telling you, statistically, this is what can happen. Somebody might start drinking. Somebody might start doing drugs. Somebody might go to sports, boyfriend, girlfriend. You just fall out. And nobody really knows why. So I spoke to these same kids senior year of high school. So about 100 kids in the library. And we're talking. And I said, I saw some of the same kids there. And I had my kids there also. I'm like, now you used to be one of my kids at the house all the time. And I could see them just starting to cry. And I'm like, you have no idea why you're not talking to her. And she's like, I said, because you were scared because of this one reacting to what you would say about being friends with her. And you have no idea why. And she's like, I don't. And I could see the faces and that other kids crying. And they're like, they don't know why. It's because of peer pressure and so much going on that they didn't know what to do. And they had nowhere outlets. And we want to try to prevent that. We want these kids to be able to talk and the parents to see some signs. And this is what was a sad thing, but I'm hoping that others can learn from this. And I hope a lot of people will learn from this tonight. So let's get going, man. I mean, this is going to be an awesome night. I feel some great questions.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I'm going to introduce the rest of our guests. Yeah. When we were putting this together, we really said, we want to make sure that we're getting people who are connected to the community, right? We want to make sure that people know who everyone is. And so we have some fantastic guests here and some subject matter experts as well. So right now I'm going to introduce one of my friends, Amy Leonardi. She is the CEO, founder of Cape Cod Moms. She is a working mom of 2 wonderful kids. She hosts the Friday Night Parent Pod on her social media pages. For the last few years, she has held, before COVID-19, she has held one of the most impressive, incredible parent resource fairs on Cape Cod. Wow. And being a young parent on Cape Cod, sometimes you just need something, and Amy knows how to make that happen. So welcome to the stream, Amy. I'm so happy to have you here with us.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. That was a great introduction, Jacob. I'm honored. That was pretty fabulous. I wish I could always be introduced that way. And I'm so honored to be here with JT from JT's Chronicles too, because I find your posts so inspiring.
Thank you very much.
And I'm glad that to be a part of it and be part of this positive spin on a conversation that's just so important. And we're all just so passionate about this. And I think the more we talk about it, the better education our kids can have. And, we set them forth into the world with every defense possible.
Great.
Absolutely. And also joining us is Richard Geary from IROC2. It's a nonprofit organization, the Institute for Responsible Online and Cell Phone Communication. Richard has a wonderful history where he worked in the technology sector, really in the early days and carrying through of this online world that we're in. And because of his background, he really started to see those dark corners of the internet, the stuff that, you see most of the time in shows like Criminal Minds or Law and Order, or those things which seem as though they are made up, but in fact, they are very real. And, he wanted to do something about that. And not only that, but also how to prepare kids, teens, parents for this growing online world that we live in, everybody's digital legacy, and what that actually means and where it carries forward. So we've had Richard as a speaker numerous times at Children's Cove over the years, recently talking with our Teen Task Force program. Definitely thrilled to have him here. So welcome to the stream, Richard.
Hey, thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here. And I'm not going to take too much time talking about myself, but yeah, if you'd like to travel with me when COVID's over and do the intro, that would be awesome, man. Thank you.
Hey, apparently I'm good at that. So, love it.
Well done. Yeah. Thank you so much. It's a privilege to be here. And I'm looking forward to just diving into some questions so we can help as many people as we can tonight.
Perfect.
Awesome.
So,
Well, I mean, if you didn't know, if you guys didn't know, and anybody at home, we have a lot of people that pre-registered, and so they also wrote in some questions. So we have some things already set up, but we also have a $50 Visa card that needs to be given away, and I want to announce that winner first before we can jump into our questions. So, the
Drum
button's
roll.
a little low. Thank you. Tanya Marie.
yes. So Tanya, you are our first $50 Visa gift card winner from pre-registering. So thank you so much for doing that. I will be in touch with you probably tomorrow because it's a little late today.
Congratulations, Tanya.
All right. Hey, you know what? We're here. Let's get into some questions, man. Let's get it going.
Let's do it.
First question. Just going to Richard, I think.
Absolutely.
Question, Richard. What is the appropriate age to start a TikTok account? And what are the risks of having one? Social media for kids, teens, stuff like that. What do you think?
All right. Wow. Okay. Well, so TikTok is obviously extraordinarily popular, and I'm going to cover TikTok specifically here to an extent, but I'm also going to talk about social media as a whole. And parents out there, I'm sure many of you have kids that are gaming. So I'm going to kind of put gaming under this umbrella as well, because gaming in and of itself has become almost its own social media platform because there's so much communication happening in it. So specific to TikTok, there's organizations, great ones like Common Sense that recommends 15 years old. The age is 13 years old. And here's what I have to say about TikTok, or really any social media. One, and just to kind of caveat here, I have a 10th grader and a 7th grader. So I'm not just an advocate these days, but I'm also a very empathetic parent to all of you out there. All right. And so one of the keys was communication. If I don't trust that my kids will come to me with an issue, whether it's about them or somebody else, then they're not ready for TikTok or any other form of social media. And really the biggest reason for that is because without communication, problems online happen a lot faster than offline. In other words, if your child gets into a fight or has an issue offline, chances are I'm not going to hear about it. Nobody on this panel is going to hear about it. But if it happens here, well, the whole world can hear about it. And the longer it's out there, the worse it can become. And so knowing that our child will either communicate with us by establishing that communication before you give them a phone and before you give them social media, this is extraordinarily important. And again, maybe it's an older sibling they'll go to, or a niece or a nephew. It's just important that they have somebody to go to and that you're confident as a parent. The second thing that's also important is that you have to know that no matter how much TikTok and there is a lot of adult content on TikTok, and they do a really good job of trying to take it down as fast as possible, but you have to know that your kids will be subject to adult content. It's some mature themes, whether it's lyrics in a song or the actions of the broadcaster. And so again, the right age is going to determine on not just the communication you have with your kid, but it's also going to determine on your willingness or acceptance that they are going to be put into a world where they're going to be facing adult content. And that doesn't just include adult content coming at them, but it also includes the potential for predators to reach out to them. And so you have to be aware that is going to happen. And if just as importantly, if not mostly important, when it comes to social media, one of the biggest issues is that far too many people believe in this thing called privacy on a platform called social media. And I often ask people, what's the definition of the word social? And what's the definition of the word private? And are they not complete opposites, right? It's a complete oxymoron. Right. And so what you have to really do before you're going to allow your kids to go into social media is help them dispel this myth, get rid of the word private, get rid of the word privacy settings, because that's not what we have. The problem from day one is that tech companies called them privacy settings because the word private is more lucrative. What you and I are, and this is why you see people getting in trouble every day, because they believe the picture is going to disappear. They believe nobody can see it. They believe it's private and only their friends will see it until it's all over the web or through the school or in the news. What we need to do is get away from using the word private, get it out of your vernacular when it comes to social media, and call them transparency or visibility settings. Set that expectation from a young age, right, and help them understand that if they're going to go into social media on a tool like this, when you give them this, help them understand that this is not a phone. Like, this isn't my phone. This isn't your phone in your hand. This is your temporary window to the world, right? Because you're going to have a new phone in a year or two. This is your temporary window to the planet. And windows work two ways. And so when you're putting those settings on, think of them as visibility settings, like you're trying to make it hard to see in that window, but always understanding that you still can see in that window, because if there's a connection out, there's a connection in. And if we can establish the right expectation that it's not a privacy setting, it's a visibility setting, then it helps us be more prudent with what we put into that world. And so what we often say is, look, when you're going to use social media, you should be making things that you're okay being public and permanent. And I say those words a million times, like I am known as Mr. Public and Permanent. And it's not to say, oh my God, what if what I just did becomes public and permanent? That's the wrong mentality. Your kids should not have that. That's how people wind up in trouble. Just look at the press daily. The question should always be, how can I make this thing go public and permanent? And how can I make that work for me? Did I just score a goal? Did I just get a scholarship? Did I just get on stage and do a play? Did I get good grades? Things that you would want to be public and permanent are things that we should be putting in social media to build that foundation, that footprint. But it's when we give kids social media and we say, set privacy settings and make sure your account's private, this is when problems happen, because they have this false expectation that nobody can see it. Right. And I'll wrap this up. I can go on all night, and I know we have other people, but I'll wrap this up by saying this. When I used to be able to go into schools, and God willing, I'll be back in them this fall. Whenever I would talk to elementary kids, one of the activities that I always do, and parents watching, you should do this with your kids. I would say, let's say I have something on my phone or my social media account I don't want people to see. You tell me how it can get out. And you'll have kids as young as 3rd grade saying you can be hacked, your friend can be hacked, you can give your phone to somebody to borrow it, it could be stolen, you can hit reply all by accident, you could send it to the wrong person. I could keep going. The point is, as they go through all of these answers in a very short period of time, what they're realizing when they're telling you is, if that can happen to me, then can it happen to you and all of your friends, right? So there's just one very quick way, and they're not even getting into advanced technologies like wearable glasses that take pictures. We're not even getting into that tonight. These are just very basic things. So yeah. So the last thing I'll leave you with, and we'll move on here, is I'll leave you with a little tip, if you will, okay? In the world of social media, all right, like I said, the question should never be, oh my gosh, what happens if it gets out? The question should always be, why wouldn't I want you to see it? Now, it doesn't mean every site should be public. It doesn't mean everybody should be able to see everything. You want to limit it. But if somebody did see it, why would that be a problem for you? Right. Anyway, so yeah, thank you for letting me go on that tangent.
No, this is important. This is important because these are questions that some people have, and these are things that maybe somebody else is not even thinking about. So that's what it's all about.
Well, yeah, exactly. And, there's so many apps, and we advance so far and so fast with technology. And so I always boil things down to the basics. And so, like, I always use fire as an analogy. We brought in pyrotechnics tonight because we're having fun, right?
Absolutely.
What I often say is, look, we have a mindset, a mindfulness of playing with fire can burn. And having that mindfulness, we understand that if you put your hand over a flame on a cold day, you feel good. If you put your hand in it on any day, it's going to hurt. But having that understanding, that mindfulness, this tool is irrelevant. This could be a book of matches. It could be a candle. It could be a lighter. Your tool becomes irrelevant when you have the right mind on how to use that tool. Right. And so when we say your mindset and what you should be setting with your kids is, when you put something into social media, are you okay with it being social? You just put it in a world that was built from the ground up for communication. Are you making that work for you? And if that is their mindset, it helps them stop making blind decisions. It helps them make informed decisions. They might still make bad decisions, but at least it's with information. Right. And so, what we say is, just like playing with fire can burn, you understand how to use this tool. If you have the mindset of public and permanent, you preach that to your children, then when they turn this on, hopefully they're making that like firework for them. And it's going to be an awesome experience, which it should be.
Great. Richard, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. That's a great answer.
Thank you.
A lot of information. So hope you guys got that. And again, if you're just tuning in right now, this is going to be play again. So you'll better go back and get some information and sit down with your kids, maybe also, or by yourself. All right. Let's get another question. Perfect. This is going to Miss Amy, of course. If you talk to your children about body safety and online predators, and they say, we know, and they want to, all right, leave me alone, my dad, you're good. Do you trust it? What other things can you do to make sure it's resonating up here? And it's going to Amy. Right?
So let's start with, do we trust it? So the answer is no, obviously. Right. We don't trust that. We know how we were as children. I mean, children are always going to, unless you've started that conversation very early, kind of push back on that conversation. Sure. The real key to all this is starting open and honest communication. Richard talked about it. I know Jacob's talked about it. It's all about communication, and it's never too late to start, but it starts from the basics, right from when they're toddlers, when they're small children, identifying body parts and things like that. But keeping those lines of communication constantly open. You want them comfortable coming to you and having these conversations. They're not conversations to be ashamed of about your body or about sex in general at all. They're part of our life. And the more comfortable they are very early on, the more comfortable those conversations are going to be as they get older. So, you get to the dreaded tweeny years and, you're not cool anymore. Heaven forbid you give them a kiss in the drop-off line at school. But again, it's about that conversation. And so you want your children to feel comfortable. And, my son, he's getting to that age. And as I've had conversations with Jacob before, and because of the education that I've learned, he's felt comfortable. He sees certain things on video gaming, Richard. And, he feels comfortable coming and saying, hey, I saw this as a screen name, or this person wrote this in the chat. And we talk about, well, how does that make you feel? Or this character had no shirt on. Well, how would you feel if it was you with no shirt on? And I really liked your analogy. It's reframing. How do you make it work for you? If you're not proud of it, if it can't work for you, why is it out there? And so again, going back to that communication line, it's so critical. One of the things too is that our age group is not necessarily always the best role models, right? I mean, we're constantly on social media, guilty as charged. I've been called out by my own children. And, I think it's 7 out of every 10 parents already say that they spend too much time on social media to the detriment of not spending time with their children. So we have to take accountability for that too and say, hey, let's model better behavior. Let's set certain timeframes. I'm going to abide by those social media type restrictions, or I'm sorry, not privacy or restrictions, but guidelines, if you will, as well. And we want to lead by example. And again, that's going to make a conversation you're going to have with your child much easier. Oh, did you see this TikTok video? Oh, that would make me very uncomfortable if that was out there of mom. Like, how would that make you feel if it was you? And it opens up these conversations, and beautiful things can come out of those conversations.
Yes.
Another really interesting part of parenting with kids and them not wanting to talk about certain things is sometimes they're going to see it at other kids' houses. That's a real hard thing to navigate, right? Because they go to sleepovers. I mean, maybe not in the time of COVID, but it's going to happen again. Play dates are going to happen. Yeah. Gaming, like Richard said, is so big right now, and it's becoming its own platform itself, and they want to go play video games together. And so you may not have the same rules as another household does. And so always err on the side of caution, knowing that your rules are probably the most lax. If you have really strict rules, assume they're the most lax and assume that the other parent's going to have stricter rules. But again, it comes down to communication. Most parents are probably going to be relieved. Hey, if they're going to play Fortnite, sometimes we notice that kind of escalates certain aggressive behavior. Yeah. We prefer to leave it on the weekends. Maybe we can set up a different play date for that sometime. And just setting that kind of tone very early on, and parents are really responsive to that. And it's, again, another way to keep clear the communication lines. The children are then aware of the boundaries and you want to honestly steer us away from as much screen time as possible when kids are getting together. But I get it, because those gaming things, they're everywhere now.
It's listen, I have tons of kids at the house, so we had to put some rules out there on that.
There's all kinds of new words too. I can't keep
Yeah.
It's a whole language.
When you said that, Amy, about the games, and we had to make a rule, because I would hear smash, I hear all this, I'm like, what was that? And all of a sudden I just wait to see who comes upstairs, and like, whatever. So lost. Like I had to put a rule: no more gambling and betting of shoes and sneakers, because some kids were going home in socks. So we're like, all right, no more of this.
Yeah.
You had your own little gaming casino in your.
Oh, I didn't even know. When you listen to your kids when they don't know you're listening, and you will hear yourself. You're like, oh God.
Yep.
Yeah.
Some of
You
these
know-
games you can listen in on the games
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
Hear
Yeah.
them.
So actually, yeah. And while we're on gaming, if we have time, just going to chime in really quickly. So a really quick tip for parents out there who have kids that are gaming, really the rule of thumb, and this goes for social media as well. The more information you put out, the more risk you bring in. That's the way the digital world works. And so you have to evaluate, your kids have to be mature enough to be able to evaluate how much risk am I willing to take on. And so that's really important when you're going to let them communicate in gaming or social media. And here's why I say that. A lot of people, when they're gaming, they're flowing very freely. They're talking about a lot of information because they have friends, but sometimes these friends, they don't know them offline. They only know them online. Right. So here's a quick tip. Tell your kids, basically, this is what I say all the time. Like, if you wouldn't say it to somebody at Dave & Buster's, right? Like, let's say we all went to Dave & Buster's or an arcade. If we all went to the arcade, and let's say we got in that race car game and it's one console connected to like 7 to 10 other consoles, right? So we're racing 7 complete strangers. And maybe we're like, oh man, nice move. Or, hey, you're driving backwards. The point is, if you're talking to these people you don't know, but you're talking about the race, like nobody's freaking out about this. Nobody's calling the police. And this happens every day, at least pre-COVID. And hopefully it will again. But I often ask people, if that person in the car after 20 minutes said to you, where do you live? Where do you go to school? Here's a box, take it. I ask people, even kids, even teenagers, I'm like, you going to take the box? And they look at me like I have 3 heads. They're like, of course I'm not going to take the box, right? But the same kid who looks you in the eyes and says they wouldn't take a box from a stranger at the arcade, you will watch them download a link in Roblox and they get hacked 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
So if you wouldn't say it or take it out there in the local arcade, then the tip is, then don't ever say it or take it in the global arcade. Keep the conversation as much as possible to the game and only the game. And this goes if your kids are streaming on Twitch or Discord, just as much as possible, keep the conversation to the game. Because if you can do that, then you can communicate in the game about the game and you'll keep your risks low. And as I said, online is all about risk level and what risk you're willing to take. And then the more you share, the more risk comes in. That's the way it works. So,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Jake, any more questions?
Well, I wanted to throw in there too, just to echo off of what Richard was talking about is I think that's a huge message that we want to come across tonight when we're talking. And there's parents that are watching this today. There's high schoolers, there's kids, there's people is being involved and recognizing the fact that the online world and the in-person world have a lot more connections than we give it credit for. And so just like what Richard was saying is if you wouldn't do it in real life, here every day you're down at McDonald's or Dunkin' Donuts or you're at school or you wouldn't want somebody outside of your house to see what's going on inside of your house, then it shouldn't be going online as well, because that creates that layer of concern, of safety, and a window for somebody that may be trying to exploit that, to take advantage of that, to come into play. And that's a real risk. And that's some of the stuff that we have seen. And so that's a huge part of what we want to talk about and bring awareness to tonight.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. The more you put out, the more risk you bring in. That's the way it goes. Everything has risks. So it's not to say don't put your pictures in online and stuff. It's just that you have to know, like we all drive our cars and we try and defensively drive. Absolutely. Our car gets us from A to B faster, and technology can get you somewhere faster, but you have to know, like the more you share, the more you put out, the more risk you're going to bring in. That's the way it works.
We did have one kid post a picture who was an incredible athlete that played with a couple of my kids. And we always talked about that. You post, it's your page, but it's not your page. Right.
It's the world's page.
Exactly. So as soon as he posted a picture of him and he was drinking, he has some smoke and he's doing this, and it was the whole picture post, I got a phone call within 2 minutes of him doing that. I was in a group of about 7 different coaches from California to Florida to Boston to the Cape. They were like, what is he doing? Immediately, just like that. And I'm like, whoa. And I was like, did the stomp. I called my son. I was like, hey, what the? And he's like, I don't know what he's doing. I'm like, exactly. This is what I'm talking about. So you understand? Like when I tell you about that, he goes, I do. I would never. But I'm like, I had to show him how quick that just happened. So we can tell our kids anything we want to tell them. But sometimes it takes something like that to somebody they know. And they're like,
it does.
Yeah,
it does.
And
it's not the platform. We don't own the platform.
Right. It's not the platform.
You are renting the space, and it's in the fine print. Anytime you put anything, it's owned forever by somebody else.
As soon as you press send,
world,
right? As soon as you post, somebody, and there's people out there that purposely do this. As soon as you post it, they're like, screenshot, because they know someone's gonna be like, dude, what are you doing? Or they realize that was too late and they want to take it down. Somebody's already got it.
Somebody's already got it. I mean, people who go live on web cameras and they think it's live don't realize it's as simple as holding a phone up and video. Forget about recording off your screen, which you can do now with most phones. You could literally just record the screen. I mean, and that's why I say, public and permanent is a mantra. It's what we call a digital consciousness. It's a mindfulness. And if you make it work for you, like, so going off of what JT was saying, right? So you have so many people who lose scholarships and things like that. Yes. But then for anybody watching, if you've never heard of Josh Jacobs, now I'm a New York Jets fan. I'm always miserable. And he doesn't play for the Jets. Good for Josh. All right. I admit it. I'm always miserable. But we're not going to go on that tangent tonight. I don't want any hate mail. All right. I suffer enough as a Jet fan. But the reason I bring it up is because Josh Jacobs, this is a young man who was homeless in middle school, homeless in high school. Him and his 5 siblings lived with his father. And so instead of being the athlete that puts things out there and isn't thinking about, okay, maybe it's not on my page, but maybe somebody else is taking it and putting it on their page. What situation am I putting themselves in? A lot of people don't think that way. Well, this is a young man who had a coach approach him and said, man, you have to put your film online. You have to put your film online. So he put it on Twitter and he put it on Facebook. And when I do presentations, I show this. So this young man is now in the NFL. He went from being homeless, being recruited by 10 colleges shortly after he put his film online, made that public and permanent, made that work for him on Twitter, runs the running back for Alabama. Shortly after that, drafted into the NFL, now plays for the Las Vegas. He was drafted by the Oakland, now Las Vegas Raiders. And this young man who was once homeless bought his dad a house last year. Now, how is it possible that a young man goes in our day and age, right, or in this planet, big planet, how does a young man go from nobody knows who he is and he's homeless to the NFL in that short period of time? How is that possible today and not 60 years ago? Because of the power of technology and helping the world see what you can do, becoming a statistic of promise, not pitfalls. And every one of you and your children watching this, you have the opportunity to do that. It's just a question of, are you going to, right?
Right. Make it work for you, as you keep saying. Work.
Exactly.
If it's going to somehow help you get to your goal. I mean, people have dreams nowadays. No better time than now during, the pandemic. Like kids you could just explode. We see child stars all the time from cool videos and sports athletes. They can make it work for them. And that's really a bigger lesson. Like you said, if you can make it work for you, then it can be out there. If not, don't put it out there.
Correct.
And I think that's, and here I am. I'm going to be the guy who brings in the bad stuff, right? I'm going to be the Debbie Downer, but that's where, the challenge and why we're out here and we're having these conversations about keeping it positive is because we've seen the opposite. Right. We've seen the opposite about when somebody has taken a moment, that moment, it's late at night or they're having a conversation or they're doing something and they're tired and they make a decision that's really poor that then impacts them forever in a really bad way. And there are stories that go the complete opposite direction where it's not just drinking at a party, but it's now concerns for a really long time. And there's police investigations and there's all kinds of stuff. And that's the stuff that we want to avoid. And so if we can flip that, right, if we can prevent that, if we focus on that safety, that positivity about how is it that, as Richard says, you take that public and permanent and make it work for you. So important.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. There's some kids who do amazing entrepreneurs, like selling jewelry. I mean, so many cool things they've done during the pandemic, but you got to make it work for you. I often tell people, we drive our cars defensively. You can't control what everybody else is doing around you. You can control your car to try and lower your risk. And it's kind of the same principle, right?
Absolutely.
So,
And it all comes back to that honest conversation and starting it as soon as possible with your kids, because it will make it less awkward. It'll be so much easier. And you're going to be glad because the more you do it, the more they're going to come to you. Don't shy away from it at all. And it's a judgment-free zone, right, Jacob? It's 100%. Hey, let's talk about this, and there's no judgment. You're not in trouble. Let's.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah. Because if they don't come to an adult, then how is anybody going to help them? You often say you can take a 13-year-old and you can put them in a car and that 13-year-old will tell you the gas means go and the brake means stop and the wheel means turn. But we all know like that 13-year-old doesn't necessarily have the wisdom yet to drive that car. They just have the front end technical skills. Right. That same 13-year-old, heck, a 7-year-old could set up an Instagram platform. Some of them can set up VPNs. They can set up complete networks like that. Right.
Right.
But that doesn't mean they have the wisdom yet to deal with all of the things that come with that. And that is why, as Amy said, the communication is so important because if they're being groomed online, something as simple as, and this is happening quite a bit on social media right now, hey, I'll pay you $5 for a picture of your feet. And they don't go to anybody with that. They just think, wow, I'm going to get $5 for my feet. Yeah. What a lot of people don't realize is that's the start of them being groomed.
Absolutely.
Because that $5 goes to $10, goes to $100, to $1,000. And then as Jacob said, now there's photos out there that you'd have no idea where they are if they're not being held over your head for other things. And so that's a whole nother can of worms that we would, we won't be keeping it positive if we go there.
Right.
But that's why communication is so important.
When you bring it's not, when you think of dollars, I think of it like V-Bucks, or in video games,
Right.
I'll give you so many Roblox or whatever. And it's a slow kind of start. Oh, they want to be my friend, or I'll buy you a skin. And then they have a skin in Fortnite where they might not have had one before. So they look for vulnerabilities.
That's right.
And so again, bringing back the analogy you said earlier, Richard, about if you were in person and someone offered you this box in person from a perfect stranger, would you take it?
Right.
Would you tell them where you lived? And setting those rules with your kids about identifiable information. There's certain information we don't share with people, or you can keep it general if someone's pushing you. I live in the Northeast. But keeping it really evasive, and maybe playing a game with the kids ahead of time. If someone asks you, how would you answer this? We like those kind of what if type games regularly.
Absolutely. Especially before they have it. That's the most important time to teach fire safety is before you hand them the match, right?
Yes. right, exactly.
So and a lot of us we're trying to catch up because technology just keeps moving forward. And that's why, when we say, there's so many different apps, we call those effects, like sexting and sextortion. These are effects, but these are effects of cause. And the cause of a lot of that is the mindset you're applying to this. And so if you can fix the cause by establishing the right mindset through that communication, then you will severely limit risks. And these tools will be like any other tool on the planet. They will be beneficial to humanity, but you have to know how to use it the right way. And we have to stop the blind decision making. The picture does not disappear in 10 seconds.
Exactly.
Okay. No matter whoever says that to you, that is not going to happen. It doesn't. All right.
Jacob, what do you got, man? I know we have some people sent some questions.
I think, and that's where we're already starting to go on to that is we had a number of questions about, when can you start having these conversations with kids? At what age can younger kids have that that conversation? And so I'm going to throw myself up here. I think the big thing that we wanted to talk about is that just like what we say when we're talking about body safety is we want to talk about online safety in the same way. Start with kids, have conversations with them young, and have these conversations off them. Just like Richard, like Amy are saying, is bring in these real life lessons and transcribe it to the internet. I have two daughters and they're really young, and they see me on my phone, they see me on my computer, they see me playing video games, and I incorporate that with them, but I'm making sure that I'm talking with them about what it is that I'm doing, and I'm involving them. And there's this place that we as parents, or even as kids, is this technology, we begin to diverge. Kids and teens and parents, we diverge, and they start to do their own thing and we start to do our own thing. But that's the only place that happens. Parents and kids, and no matter what age they are, teenagers, they're usually involved. If a kid's involved in sports, hey, what's going on with your sports? Tell me about practice. When's your game? Most of the time, because you got to bring them there, or you got to show up. You got to do it, even if it's 20 degrees and you don't want to. But you're going to be involved and paying attention and checking in. And how is the game? The kid's going to go hang out with friends. Well, parents are usually asking, what friends are you hanging out with? Where are you going? What are you doing? Okay. But a lot of the time, kids are online. They're doing their own thing. They're keeping that private. The phones are in the bedroom, which we strongly encourage that they're not, right? There's that technology that's going on all night, and there's no engagement. There's no interaction. And so, what we really would hope, and we want to take away for parents, for kids, for teenagers, be involved. I know teenagers, you're getting up and you're growing on, you're moving forward, but also being a part of that and having your parents pulled into your life, and kids, parents having your conversations with their young is really important. I went to a training not too long ago with some very impressive law enforcement officials and people from the FBI. We're talking about kids as young as 11 now are being exposed to internet pornography. They're being sent unsolicited pictures by people on social media. You know, in our high school groups, our teen task force, you know, there's a lot of examples of people who are getting unsolicited nude photos. They're being harassed or being followed online. And these types of things, they happen early. They happen 11 years old. So if as a parent, you're waiting to have that conversation until they're 13, 14, 15 years old, you're already late. And by then it's going to be another one of those, ew, why are you talking to me about this right now kind of conversation. So start these conversations, have them young, develop that rapport and communication. Because just like what Amy was saying is, if or when something does go wrong, they know that they can come and they can talk to you, and that things aren't off limits. You know, maybe setting up a code to say, I got to talk to you about something, but I'm really scared to talk to you about it. You know, what is it that you can do there and bring that forward?
You can tell a lot. Excuse me. I would always tell by their demeanor. So I knew I could take one kid, like, hey, we're gonna go throw some ball, we're gonna go drive and we'll get some ice cream. And so that was a relaxed moment. And we just and that's kind of like how I would bring up, what's going on, man, or what's happening. You know, because you could tell they want to say something, they don't know how to start it off. So that's where you have to be like, all right, dude, want to get some ice cream? You want to go outside and play some football? You want to color, draw? So I learned being a single dad with my kid that it was activities, and that's how we started to talk about certain things when their guy was down to relax and everything just kind of flowed. And once you open the gate, sometimes they'll just keep talking because they need to. You don't want them to hold that in, especially my young boys, young men. They have to understand that they need to get that stuff out and not keep it in because they're taught, oh, tough and that, do this and that. It's like, no, man, because they break down hard, and that's where you end up, you know, doing something that you wouldn't normally do. Anger and frustration pent up inside. So you want to open that. I've been talking since they were 3 years old, you know, about all kinds of things. And then you just keep progressing as they get older and as you see what's going on. So I'm lucky. My son still gives me a kiss when he sees me, gives me a hug and love. And his friends are like, hey, dude, my dad doesn't do that. Or they come over and like, JT, what's up? And they hug and give me a kiss. And I love you. I hear them say they love each other. But that's like grooming from young till they get older. So they're just doing it. They don't even realize it's just second nature to them. So when I heard about girls taking pictures and sending them to the boys because, you know, at school, because, well, they're not going to show anybody. He wouldn't show anybody. As soon as you take that picture, he's showing this guy next to him. Just like we're talking about, as soon as you take a picture. And that's scary. So these conversations need to start at a young age because nothing is promised.
I like the idea of the buffer there, JT. Like ice cream's always a great buffer with your younger ones.
Yeah.
Just to kind of open the conversation. We're laid back, we're chilling. I remember actually it wasn't too long ago. And because of our honest conversations, my son came to me and, you know, he got on Netflix and watched Deadpool. I haven't even seen that. And then my husband enlightened me after he came. He goes, I got to tell you something. I saw Deadpool and I didn't realize. And my husband's like, oh,
Yeah.
like, so I have some questions. And he was curious. And I said, okay. My husband kind of whispered what had gone on. And I was like, all right, cool. All right. Well, nothing to be ashamed of. Wish you hadn't watched that without permission. However, let's have a conversation about what you're curious about, what you saw. But again, it was because we've always kind of kept that line of communication. And he's getting older. He gets a little more embarrassed easily, but he still seems, he comes right to, he'll ask a question or he'll say, that's kind of disrespectful. I don't really like that.
Right.
And so that's good. I mean, as they get older and they get into teens, I want him to be able to come. And I just say it's judgment free. And this is part of growing up. And
how they're gonna treat women in their
right.
So
let's have a conversation and it's it's really be respectful of your body parts and you have ownership over them and nobody else should ever try and exploit that.
Oh yeah.
And I think too, and just one more thing, and I know we got to start wrapping up to get to the next part here, but you know, I think the more that we're inviting these kinds of conversations in and you know, kids, teens ask for them too, is because you know, Mr. Google tends to be the person where people go to first for questions. Right. And so there can be even accidental things that come up. And I'll give you an example. As one of my daughters the other day, was saying, oh, that's what kind of birdie is that? And it was like a woodpecker, and it was banging on the roof, because it's the woodpecker that makes all the noise and screams and makes a bunch. And I said, oh, well, it's looking for a mate. It's looking for another woodpecker. Oh, so they can have babies? Yeah. They say, how do they have babies? I'm like, well, these two birds, they love each other very much. No, but I explained a little bit of it, right? Because they're under 5, and but if they were 6 or 7 or 10 and had access to the internet, how do birds have babies? And then you get to sex, and then you get to the image search, and then you are you are 5 layers deep, and you are tumbling down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, Deadpool's rated G.
In Wonderland. We don't want to go there, right? But that's how easy it can happen. And so if we're not having these conversations early and inviting them
to come to you as opposed to Google, if I think you've said it before, Jacob, if you don't have that conversation, someone or Google is going to have that.
Absolutely. And if I could add, and if I could throw this out, and we're already seeing it, you're seeing it everywhere. The amount of false information out there is so vital, and we're also getting into the world now where deep fakes, used to be this term that some people knew what they were. Now, deep fakes will become part of our normal vernacular, and it goes back to everything that we've been talking about: communication. If somebody's deep putting your child's head or your friend, on a nude body, or they're just doing something really messed up like that, that's where that communication has to happen. So so asking Google, they might not necessarily get the right information, so you got to be really careful. And again, that's the communication. I think everybody here has said how important it is, and it can't be overstated. And
you can be the one to approach them. Don't wait for them to approach you. We saw that in that film, The Cuties. She didn't go to her mom, right? So she found it somewhere else. Somebody else will educate you. And don't let that be somebody else. It should be you.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So do we have to move on to something else, or I could throw 2 quick tips out there for parents, just completely off the thing while we have some time? Just 2 quick tips.
2 quick tips. And then
if you go to ask your kid to see their phone, depending on your age and the rules that you've set up when you give them the phone, which you should establish rules when you give your kid a phone. I know this project that you're working on, Jacob, I believe you had a contract, right? Didn't you have a family contract, right?
We're gonna talk about that in a little bit.
Okay, I want to step on your toes there. So right off the bat, if you go to see, hey, let me see your phone, and they give you any kind of reaction that's other than here, that should be a red flag. Right. 2, going back to how I started earlier with TikTok, if you see a Cash App in your child's bio, one of their friends' bio, if you see a Cash App in that bio, you have to have a question, communicate. Why do you have a Cash App? Who is paying you and for what? Are you making jewelry on the side as an entrepreneur, or is somebody paying you $5 for foot pics? But if a kid has a Cash App or their friends have a Cash App, that right there is a good conversation starter. Why do you have that? What are kids doing to make money online? Anyway, I just thought those would be relevant to what
great tips. Great tips there.
And that tying into what you were saying there, that is a huge flag, not for necessarily that something is already wrong, but is a huge flag for those people who are online, who mean to do harm to kids. They are looking for stuff like that because they look at that as a vulnerability. They look at that as a gateway. They look at that as a way to groom somebody. And so, having conversations about those kinds of things and staying up on what are the trends that are happening, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Jacob, this is good stuff, man. I'm very excited about this right now. What else do we have? So we've touched so many different topics right now. I mean, I know we have another gift certificate. We have another Visa card to give away.
Yeah, we have a couple prizes to give away. So we have prizes for those who had actually liked, commented, shared, who had really tried to help us get this information out there, and for those of you who are still here live with us and have been commenting and engaging, we have a couple things there. But JT, I wanted to bring it back to you just for a moment because, you and I, we've talked a lot and we've been out at events in the community, and we're always talking about, positivity and dealing with really difficult situations.
Right.
And there's, sometimes there's ways that it's just hard to communicate. You know, we don't want to always be about the bad stuff, because I could go on all day about,
of course,
the bad stuff, right? But that's not the point, because, you know, we've been talking a lot about silver lining. So what are some of your thoughts? What are some of your takeaways of the things that we've talked about here?
I think just with everything going on right now, and just in general in the world, and all the different things the kids have seen, which is so much, and it's all negative. And you got to remember that there's way more good than bad. Understand that first. All right. So that's just what you have to put out there. But what you start to look at, Amy, if you start looking at Tupperware because you want to make some stuff, now constantly on your page is going to come up all the stuff about Tupperware. You know, we're just going to look at stuff about, you know, about new cell phones constantly. Jacob, you same thing, kids' toys. So that's all that's going to keep coming up on your feed. So when you start to look at something negative, whether it's any of the shooting, anything bad like that, that's what's going to keep coming towards you. You have to know how to shut that off. You have to know, like, all right, I'm going to start looking up different things, and, like, you know, and I don't care. Maybe just put it down for a while and just go outside and just kind of like reflect on what you want to see good in your life. And I love our community because I've been to so many different rallies and things that have been going on, and I've met people that are just relaxed, and they're like, what's going on? And they're more open, and they want to talk. And I like that reaction to them. And I'm like, so I've been at a couple of events, and there was some bad things happening, but I saw kids starting to bond, and I started meeting people, and like, oh, I met your father, you know, a long time ago. And he was helping me with the problem that I had. And I'm like, you met my father? And like, yeah. I'm like, what do you mean? Well, your father used to come and sit with me for breakfast on Saturdays at this restaurant. I'm like, he did? And like, yeah. And I had a problem, and he would help me out. And I was in turn was able to talk to my folks. And it was like, there was an older guy that hadn't spoken to his parents about something he had going on. And that just made me feel good. So that energy, when I get up in the morning, I'm like, man, I have a whole nother day to do some good things, and not just get up and start getting on my phone. Like, I actually can get outside and go and work on a project that I started to work. Maybe I was an athlete. I want to work out more, because when I do that, it makes me feel good, and my friends see it. Now that positive energy keeps spreading, just like negative does. That positive spreads, and people feel it right when you walk into the store. I'm like, why are you smiling? Why are you not smiling? Don't talk about me. Why? What do you mean? What do you mean? Dude, you woke up. You're already winning. Do you understand that? You woke up. You're absolutely winning. Stop going to your phone. You want to see what your ex did last night, or who they're dating, and I can't believe she wore that. You need your time first. You need you. Forget everybody else, because you know, at the end of the day, they don't care about you. You'll realize that when you start really looking at how much time do you have dedicated to you. How much time do you ask your friend, hey, do you want to go for a walk, or do you want to go help me on this project I'm trying to do? Yeah, but let's go over here first. You keep hearing that. Stop for a second. When you see somebody keeps pulling you away from your dream, your goal that you want to do, that person's not for you. That person's not about helping you get to your next step. That's not positive. That's negative. They're draining your energy. I love my energy. That's why my circle gets smaller, because it's like, all right, well, I'm the only one that wants to do this. That's fine. I'll gravitate to the right people. Will gravitate to me when it needs to be. And that person might only be in your life for a day, a week, a month, a year. I have a friend from 8 years old at Independence Park on a bike-a-thon. Now, half the kids don't even know what a bike-a-thon is. It's like, it's beautiful. A bike-a-thon, Independence Park. And we rolled that whole thing together. We've been friends since then. One of my best friends. I wish my son, and I hope, and my daughter have friends that they can last that long. There's a group of, there's like 7 of us. And we have other friends outside. You know, you have your different groups. I can bring this one here. I can bring this one there. But we have outside friends that are like, man, I wish my group was friends like your group. You have that energy. You know what you want. You want that positivity. You just got to believe in yourself first. It's you. You got to love yourself first. Don't worry about everybody else. Because if you have no room on here, you got no room for anybody else. You're going to be okay. I promise. You're going to be all right. One friend is a friend. No friend. I got no friends. Dude, you got one friend? 2 people to go to the store and get ice cream? I'll go by myself.
Well, I'll always go with you too, JT.
And that's, see, I just got 3 new friends just now.
We're all going to get ice cream.
To start my positivity, JT, New York Jets Super Bowl quarterback. Go. All right. Let's see if we can find one.
I'll help you will that into it. It's been a long
See if
time.
the ads start rolling in.
Yeah, we'll figure it out then.
I got Patriots, baby. I'm looking for Justin Fields to come to the Patriots.
There you go.
Yes.
There you go. Of course he will, and it'll be amazing.
Hey, that's Cape Cod. That's Cape Cod family connections right there.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, so before we go into our next and last part of our block party tonight, we do have some more giveaways. So we had promised that. And so the first one is going to be for a Children's Cove swag bag. So this has some really great stuff in it. It has insulated coffee mug. It's got a water bottle. It's got stress balls. It's got hand sanitizer. It's less of a hot commodity now, but you never know. But one of the other things too that we have is we have webcam covers, and we're going to find more ways to get these out into the hands of people because again, that technology, if you don't have that covered up, you're not doing something. We have some webcam covers. You don't have to use that Post-it note or a piece of tape anymore. We'll step up your game on that and a few more things. So our winner for that is Cameron Vendetti. So, hey. Congratulations. I'll be reaching out to you tomorrow. So thank you very much for liking, for sharing, for commenting, for getting that information out. And for all of you who are here with us live, we've had a really great audience that have been here, who have been commenting, who's had a lot of really great questions and feedback. So we have another $50 gift card for those of you who are here now. And that is Katie Faraya Martin. So, hey.
Congratulations,
Katie
Martins.
Yes, what's up?
What's up? So congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight and being a part of this with us. Please share this message. Please get the information out. I don't want to steal too much of JT's lines, but like this message, love this message, share this message, right?
Absolutely, man.
Right. I got it. And,
you.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so one more thing that we do want to share, and this is referencing what Richard had talked about is, we're not going to say to you, this is what you have to use, right? Because one of the things that we really try to do at Children's Cove is make sure that we're initiating that conversation. That's why our tagline has been for so long, have the conversation, right? You don't have to be good at it. You don't have to have all of the answers. You don't need to know exactly what to say. The biggest thing is to start, just like what JT was saying, is if you start your day with positivity, if you just start this conversation about body safety, about online safety, about those things, that's what's going to make a difference. And so if you go to our website on childrenscove.org, you can, we have resources there for you. We have links out to JT's page. We have links to Richard's page. We have links to Amy's page. But one of the things that we're rolling out today, and we really want people to take a moment, use this as a guide, use this as a place to start your conversation, right? Go take a look at our IU2U page. That's going to give you some tips and give you some stuff. But the pledge is something that we're asking for parents, for kids, for teens to start. It's about using tools, having conversations that you set up within your family. It's up to you to be smart, be safe online, have these conversations with your family, and take the pledge. By taking this pledge, you're saying, I recognize that, you know what, as much good stuff that there is that we can do, and we can make this positive, we can do this, there are risks out there, and there are real risks that could impact your life and other people's lives. And so we want to make sure that everybody is doing their part for our community here on the Cape and the Islands and beyond there to make sure that kids are safe online by talking about these issues, acknowledging they exist, and reporting them if we see something. But also we want people to take this time to use these tips to start. For parents to be involved in their kids' lives, to be able to talk about the fact that these scary things are, learn about the conversations that kids may have online, and what some of those grooming behaviors may be for kids and teens, to, if something does happen where you don't feel safe online, to talk to that trusted adult, to get that information out there, and say, hey, I may have made a mistake, or hey, I opened this thing and I'm worried about it. We have printouts, so you can do this in your own home and even change up some of those rules, make it fit for you. We really want you to take that time. But if you come to our website at childrenscove.org and you sign the pledge and you share it, you can share it on your social media. You can share it on Facebook. You can share it on Instagram, on Instagram. You can share it on Twitter. If you take that time, fill that out, please have these conversations with your kids. And for everyone who fills out that form and takes the pledge, you'll be entered in for another $50 Visa gift card. So if you do that, we'll give you a week to do that. You'll be entered in for that $50 gift card.
And they get a sweatshirt.
And JT is gonna add on to it. They're gonna get a sweatshirt. One community, one love.
My mic.
Right? All about positivity.
Just
Love it.
Take the pledge, everybody.
You owe it to yourself. You owe it to your kids. You owe it to your community.
Absolutely. We want to make sure that we are living in a community that's free of abuse, where children have a voice that is heard, and that everybody is able to live safe, healthy, and empowered lives. So we don't want to keep you all much longer than that. Thank you everyone for coming here. Thank you so much, JT, for hosting. I'm so glad we were able to pull this together. Thank you, Amy. It's always a pleasure for us to do something together. Thank you, Richard, for taking this time. Really, I appreciate it. Thank everyone for coming out. This was a blast. And
Absolutely.
For those of you who asked questions and we didn't get a chance to answer them, don't worry. The four of us have something else planned that we're going to get that information out. So
Yes.
We'll talk to you soon. So thank you all very much.
And remember, one love, one family, one community. So love this video, like this video, and you share this video with as many people as you can. Thank you guys so much. You guys been awesome.
Thank you so much. Bye,
Cheers.
everybody.